Welcome to this explainer. Let's jump right in, shall we? Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating section from Ryuho Okawa's book, Progress Thinking. Specifically, we're zooming in entirely on Chapter 4. It's all about the mind that calls forth happiness, and it offers a highly structured, almost mechanical look at how the human mind operates. What's captivating about this text is that it doesn't just treat happiness as some fleeting random emotion. Instead, it impartially presents the mind as a spiritual machine, one governed by strict laws and invisible mechanics. Today, we're going to break down exactly how this source material maps out the blueprints of that machine.
So, to kick things off, the text hits us with this profound core paradox. Think about it. If someone desperately wants to be happy, wouldn't focusing completely on their own happiness be the most logical way to get there? Well, the author points out a super interesting phenomenon. People who selfishly seek only their own joy often end up experiencing the exact opposite result. They actually chase it away. Our goal today is to look at the mechanical reasons the text provides for why this paradox exists and how to actually solve it.
To help us wrap our heads around this, the author gives us a roadmap of 5 distinct mechanical metaphors: the mind's magnet, universal energy faucets, the power of others' happiness, tuning to God's wavelength, and finally, the proactive power of prayer.
Let's start with Section 1, the mind's magnet. This first concept treats the human mind not as some abstract idea, but as a literal, functioning magnet.
The rule here is incredibly concrete. The text calls this the law of harmonious vibration. According to the author, your mind acts exactly like a physical magnet. You know how a magnet pulls an iron sand? Well, your mind actually draws in the fragments of happiness floating around out there in the world. But here's the catch. It only attracts what inherently matches its own energetic nature.
The text asserts that there are absolutely 0 exceptions to this rule. If you've built up a positive magnet in your mind, you're going to effortlessly draw in happiness, success, and positive circumstances. But on the flip side, if your mind carries negative, selfish, or pessimistic tendencies, it literally becomes a negative magnet. It's unavoidably going to attract negative iron sand, things like misfortune and unhappiness. The law works perfectly every single time, whether it's working for you or against you.
Moving to Section 2, universal energy faucets. This brings us to a really visual metaphor in the book about where the energy powering that magnet actually comes from. The universe is described not as an empty void, but as an infinite, overflowing reservoir of brilliant, invisible energy. The author paints a picture of a massive cosmic infrastructure. Imagine these invisible pipes or capillaries branching out from this boundless universal reservoir, and they connect directly into every single person's heart. Everyone has a direct line to this power. So, how do we interact with this cosmic plumbing? The text breaks it down into clear steps. First, that infinite energy is constantly pressing against the pipes, just waiting to flow. Second, your mind acts as the actual faucet controlling that flow. Twist the knob the wrong way, and you shut the water off. But, and here is step 3, if you turn that faucet toward love for others, you mechanically open the valve, letting that boundless energy rush right into your life. That brings us to Section 3, the power of others' happiness. And this leads us directly to the answer for that initial paradox we started with.
How do we make sure we're turning the faucet the right way? According to the text, wishing for the happiness of others is the exact mechanical switch that opens the valve. Now, the author is really careful to clarify a common misunderstanding here. This doesn't mean you have to be completely self-sacrificing or that you should ignore your own well-being. Not at all. It's just that having this outward-facing intention of sharing happiness acts as the right directional turn of the faucet. Try to hoard the water just for yourself, the valve closes. Intend for it to flow out to others, the valve opens up. And ironically, you end up with way more energy flowing through you than you could ever use on your own. Section 4. Tuning to God's wavelength. Here, the author shifts metaphors from plumbing to radio broadcasting to explain what happens when those energetic pipes get blocked. See, over time, if we aren't careful, the system gets jammed up. The text explains that human self-interest, ego, and purely selfish desires act just like water scale or rust building up inside a pipe. Initially, the pure energy from the universe flows beautifully, but as this rust of self-interest accumulates, it distorts the flow. It dirties the water, until eventually that magnificent cosmic energy is reduced to a mere muddy trickle.
So how do we clear this rust? The author says we have to tune our minds like a radio dial to God's specific broadcasting frequencies. The text contrasts the clogged pipes caused by selfish desires with the frequencies of a clear flow. You literally have to tune your internal dial to things like love, wisdom, courage, justice, hope, joy, freedom, equality, and progress. By deliberately matching your mind's wavelength to these attributes, you dissolve the rust and restore that clear, infinite flow of energy.
Finally, Section 5, the proactive power of prayer. We know the mechanics now, the magnet, the faucet, the radio dial, but how do we actively put this into practice? The text offers a highly specific tool for this, prayer. But it's super important to note how the author frames this. In this book, prayer isn't portrayed as some passive, helpless wishing. Instead, it's presented as the most proactive, powerful method you have to actively align your mind with those higher wavelengths. It is the literal, physical action you take to turn the dial and open the faucet to the universe's infinite wealth. To show you exactly how this works, let's look at a beautifully structured prayer pulled straight from page 115 of the source material. It reads, "O God, please grant me a single drop of your ocean-like love." Notice the incredible precision of the language here. It acknowledges the boundless, ocean-like nature of the universe's energy and humbly asks to internalize just a single drop of that specific frequency, in this case, love.
Then, the prayer repeats its formula, acting as a clear instruction manual for the mind. It goes, "O God, please grant me a single drop of your ocean-like wisdom." By substituting different attributes into this formula, you are methodically tuning your mind's radio dial to catch the different wavelengths we just talked about. It's a deliberate, mechanical alignment of your spiritual magnet.
The book explains that when all these mechanics are finally aligned, when your mind understands it's a magnet, when the faucet is opened by wishing for the happiness of others, and when your dial is purely tuned through prayer, that's when limitless spiritual and worldly prosperity is realized. The author refers to someone operating in this state as an angel of light, a person whose correctly tuned mind not only fulfills their own maximum hope, but actually serves to elevate the entire world around them. And that brings us right back to you. We've explored the strict laws of the spiritual magnet, the universal energy plumbing, and the precise frequencies needed to keep it all flowing. Understanding these mechanics is a great first step, but the real challenge is daily application. So based on the blueprint we've unpacked today, ask yourself, which way is your mind's faucet turned right now? Are you accidentally restricting your own flow? Or are you tuned in, open, and ready to let the energy rush in? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I hope this structured look at the mind gives you a powerful new framework for your own reality.